Hi, and welcome to the Happy Progress Podcast. I'm Alex Harris, and today we're here with Bunny Young. How you doing, Bunny?
I am amazing. Thanks for asking.
To get started, does progress equal happiness to you?
I think I'm always a work in progress. And so I would say that any day that I'm awake and alive and I wake up. And so that's like a complex question to lead with, Alex. It's like, what's the definition
Oh,
of life?
to the grit right away. We want to know what Bunny's made of, why you do it, and how you find happiness.
Oh my gosh. How do I define happiness
How
or
you
how do I find happiness?
find?
I find happiness on a surfboard or on the back of a horse.
Nice and adventurous. I see that as a stunt woman turned entrepreneur. Wow, this is going to be
Yes.
a great story. I grew up. All my friends surfed. I was never very good at it because I couldn't hold my breath for that long, and you don't realize how difficult it is to actually get out there. But I skateboarded my whole life, so I'm in that entire culture. How did you get into liking surfing or wanting to surf?
I'm a SoCal girl,
Oh, really?
and I most of my friends were guys that surfed, and so I often say I was raised by a pack of guys, which is slightly less than a pack of wolves. Just this particular, it is nothing about the male species, but this particular pack of men um, are definitely ones to be not modeled your life after. They're good guys though. They looked out after me. And so it was kind of just like I could either sit on the beach or I could learn how to surf. And my cousin, who's like my brother, he taught me how to surf. And you're right, it is very difficult to learn the proper way to paddle out. However, the energy I learned that I put into paddling out and figuring out the proper way or duck diving a wave, whatever you're going to do, was really return. That's the first return on investment I ever noticed in my life was the ride back. It made it worth the difficulty in paddling out.
It's beautiful. What an analogy of life, right? The surfing, such a glorious thing that you see on TV, but in
Right.
order to get out there, it takes struggle, it takes
Yeah.
grit, it takes sacrifice, and it takes consistency to be able to build up the lung strength and the power. Yeah, you could probably get out maybe once or twice. Getting up is a different story, but getting out.
I'm laughing. I'm only laughing because my husband can't stand it. And so
Oh,
like my
really?
husband was born and raised in Tucson, Arizona, and we've tried to teach him. He's an amazing stuntman. So surfing, and he's an amazing skateboarder. And so surfing is something that by all means should come natural to him,
Hmm.
but swimming is not something that he excels in.
Hmm.
And so he's like, forget surfing. Like it's too hard to paddle out there. It takes too much work. And I'm the entrepreneur in the family and he's in the military. And so it's like a perfect analogy of like, I'm the one who's paddling out, fighting the waves in order to get the ride back. And he's just like, I'm going to sit on the beach and barbecue and, serve our country, which by in and of itself is a very difficult wave to ride.
Hmm.
But he's definitely getting towed into a much more dangerous environment. And I'm the one who is sticking with like the 6 to 8 foot waves.
I love it. Awesome. So tell us a little bit about you. As I mentioned, you're a stunt woman turned entrepreneur, and it sounds like your husband's a stuntman as well. How did you get into entrepreneurship from this phase in your life?
I'm laughing because I was born into it, but I also have this like distinct memory of being like, I'm going to college, I'm going to do anything but own my own company. And so my mom ran my family's company, my parents' company, and my dad essentially worked for my mom. They were a great partnership though. There was like not this power struggle, and the company worked for our family. And so I can look back and reflect on that very vividly. And then my grandfather had multiple companies and not all of them were successes, but he modeled for me how to treat your people and how to treat people, period, and your team. And my mom continued that, and just customer service. Like she embodies how humans should treat other humans. And I don't think I'll ever be able to live up to her level of customer service, as well as her triple checking like the books and all of that kind of stuff. She's just amazing at that kind of stuff. Sometimes I look at her and I'm like, I can't believe I came from you. So fast forward to your question is, I was everything but an entrepreneur. I found in every career, though, even as my short stint as an EMT and a lifeguard and teaching swim lessons and stunts, I was always looking at the back end of the company and how to improve it, because I felt like it would make my life easier. It would keep us safer as a stunt team. And I remember being on the set and knowing that even though I'm the stunt professional, there's literally 15 people that are making my safety possible. And that was important to realize and know, and the power of a team, and really like the power of the right team, and growing up with horses, like this power of a herd. And so I became a therapist, got my master's degree, and they don't teach you how to start and run a company when you go to school to be a therapist. Like, they just teach you how to be a therapist. And so I was a part of these different therapeutic industries, and continued to meddle in the business side, no matter what, whether it was in an addiction clinic or in child protective services. Like, I always meddled in the business side. And one day it was just like, hey, this business team wants to come out and learn trust, communication, and leadership. And I was like, I'm a therapist. Like, we don't do that. And they were like, can you hold a safe space for people to have professional development and personal development? And I was like, oh yeah, I can do that. So I dove headfirst into organizational psychology, and my accountant was like, time out, you get too much income in order to like not be a business. We need to take some expenses and mileage and travel. Like, we need to be able to do that. And so my companies were born. It's honestly the story of waking up one day, looking in your toolbox and being like, what am I going to do with a stunt woman, lifeguard, third generation entrepreneur, therapist, all these tools? Like, what am I going to do? No, there's no job description on the face of this planet that's going to fit all these in. So why don't I just make one?
It sounds like you have a lot going on, but one of the things that I heard you talk about, it really is that balance. One of your messages is, how do you create this work-life balance in a more realistic way? We all want these things or more successes, but really, what's the most important thing to us individually? So tell us a little bit about that, and how do you create that balance overall, which is what entrepreneurs deal with.
So two things. One is an autoresponder, and two is give somebody else power over your calendar. That's really it. It goes into my team. My team is the one who will take this content, even this podcast interview, and create valuable content for other individuals, so that I'm spending 30 minutes of my time, but it's helping hundreds of thousands of people. So I have to give all of the props to my team, because they spend their time in their zone of genius. I spend my time in my zone of genius, and I'm not trying to do all of the different things. And the harder I lean into my true value and true zone of genius, the happier I am, and the more value that I bring. And that's value within life, and that's value within finances. And it's the most ironic thing to work less and make more, but being able to really say, no, I'm not going to be like a 7-Eleven and open 24/7, 365. Like, I'm going to be more like a Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, where I'm open for like 3.5 hours, 2 nights a week. Yeah, I had a really hard time, Alex, with the no part. And an autoresponder seriously was the cheapest, best way of saying no without me actually having to do that. Like, you emailed me, you got my autoresponder that basically said, don't email me. There's 5 different websites to get what you need. Even if you need my calendar, there's an automated calendar system that's available on my autoresponder on my website. And then, I have a amazing right and left hand that I call my director of getting stuff done. I think she calls herself the productivity assistant. I don't know. I really wanted the title to be director of getting SHIT done. And she was like, I don't think we can put that on an email signature. I said, I feel like I can authorize that. So, and her name's Victoria, and she knows, because I tell her every single day that I couldn't do this without her. She's basically family. I'm not saying that for everybody out there that they need to find somebody that is, like, you're not going to find another Victoria on the face of this planet, but finding somebody who you can, hiring somebody, even part-time, even as a contractor, makes yourself, it gives yourself this sense of, I have to get myself organized for this person. And I also have to set boundaries so that this person can set boundaries. Right. And so being able to give her my calendar and saying, that's it. And then that's it. It's like this magical thing that it's like, when I say I work less than 10 hours a week, like, it happens because she makes it happen. And somehow, some way, it all works.
It sounds like you knew what you wanted, so you created the systems in place so you can work smarter and not harder, and then leverage your assets, the people around you, to do things that may take too much time for you, and you're better off spending your critical time in the things that are the most important to your overall business. But I think one of the foundations that I've seen or heard you have is that it's important to also have a bigger purpose overall. So tell us about, first of all, the best business coach that you ever had and how you've turned your life into a life of purpose.
The best business coach I've ever had is my Great Dane. Because I have a service animal, and if I'm working, my service animal is working. If I'm not working, my service animal is working. But in 2016, when I was flying and traveling and working 32 weeks out of the year, that's a lot for a dog. And she had 2 more legs than I did. And I was pregnant because I had my second kid in 2017. And so being able to be accountable to this other being, both the one that I'm growing inside me, and also watching my senior service dog try to keep up with me, was like, hey, I don't think this is the best idea. Just because humans can do this, doesn't mean they necessarily should. So I think she's the best business coach. She's passed on, but she's the best business coach that I've ever had, because, to see a purpose, I will probably cry, and I'm okay with that. But to see a being so dedicated to their role in life, to literally, she's a Great Dane that was 11 years old. Great Danes don't live that long. And so we got another Great Dane to take over for her. And that Great Dane failed service dog school. Didn't fail as a service dog. She's still actually supporting my mom, and she's an amazing dog. And we kept her. There's a happy ending there. But she failed Great Dane service dog school. And so for me, she had social anxiety, and that didn't work when you're a public speaker and you travel a lot. And so we couldn't find another service animal until we found Guinness, who's currently sleeping at my feet right now. And he's the black and white one that you would see on my Instagram if you went right now. And he's the one that's on most of the current materials. But Goose is the gray and black one. If you go back, and if you're an animal lover and you want to know and follow this story as you're listening to this, everybody else is like, Bunny, just answer Alex's question. So, but to see a being so hyper focused to extend her life beyond expectations, and she had multiple health issues. And so, dang it, Alex. So there's this conference that I had to go to, and it was August of 2017. And I knew I had to go to the conference, but she got sick, so I was going to cancel. And she had a miraculous turnaround 2 days. The day I was going to cancel, she had this miraculous healthy turnaround. And so I had my vet on call. My vet was coming to the house, and my husband was there. And I said, I will come home. I have to speak, but I will come home. The second she's not doing well, I'm going to come home. And every day, however many, like every hour, I'm pretty sure if you asked my vet and my husband, I called, and my vet came to the house, and she was doing great. They're like, she's eating, she's moving, she's all of that kind of stuff. I'm like, okay. So I stayed, I spoke, I flew home. I flew home, and that night everything went downhill. And the next day we promoted her to heaven. And so it was like her purpose was to make sure that I could get through the conference, say what I needed to say to the people who needed to hear it. And for her to know, like for her to, whew, for her to not have me worry about her because I have a heart condition. And so for me to be home safe with my family and then her to be like, okay, my work's done. My purpose is done. And like, watch her literally, me give her permission and be like, it's okay, baby. Your work here is done. Like, was amazing. And so that is happiness, is to have that level of purpose and knowledge of your purpose, to know that when the work you're doing is fulfilling, like that you'll leave the world a better place.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand your situation because I've had my wife's a very big. She's actually a therapist as well. Graduated with her master's in psychology. Work with kids with trauma and grief and all the things that you mentioned.
Yeah.
So a lot of similarities, but we've had a lot of dogs, and we going through that is extremely rough. But the things that do happen during those very hard times, not only do we learn more about ourselves, but we appreciate what's closest to us. I don't have any children, so our dogs are our children.
Yeah.
And they do give us purpose. Like, even me, with stupid as it sounds, like, fitness and routines and stuff, like they make me who I am.
Yeah.
And the things that we go through, so I can understand that, how this reflected on you, and it came together at the right time, and you saw that. I think it's take it for granted, these things that are the biggest changes in our life that show us, what our purpose is, and how much value your pets, your dogs, and your business coaches bring out the best of you in your life. You can easily have not gone to that event, just said, I'm going to be with him for that time. But still it all ended up working out in the right way. And I think that was meant to be.
Yeah. And I can tell you that I got on that plane. There was another service dog that I'm still friends with that individual today. And there's an individual that I met again at that conference, and that's now serving on the board of the nonprofit of the service animal organization that I wouldn't have started without Goose. And so, and ironically enough, like I just got her proof in the email of the story of her life that took me forever to write because I didn't want to finish it because I didn't want her to pass away. And so, you asked me who my best business coach is, like you're spot on with the aspect that I was diagnosed with a heart condition, in my late teens. And it was like, okay, it was an awareness. Like I walked out of the doctor's office with an awareness and a permission to live my life. I knew I didn't want to be scared of dying. So I wanted to just live my life, which led to being a stunt woman. Right. And then I got diagnosed with a second heart condition after having my child, my second daughter. And so that, again, was this awareness of, okay, I'm not going to work more as far as, in the traditional sense of work. I'm going to figure out how I can leave a legacy instead of just a company. And then, being in a really bad car accident in 2019 removed me completely out of all of my companies. And shockingly enough, and I'm the only one who was shocked, really, is that the companies functioned without me. They were able to take the content that I had created and recycle it and keep going. And my team, that is amazing, was able to completely continue to support our clients. And so to step out of that and just be like, to everybody who's sitting there saying, well, I can't do that. Well, I can't do that. No, you can't do that until you have to. So you can either choose to, or you can be forced to. And I don't know how many times in life I need to be shown that I can choose to, or I can be forced to. But Goose definitely showed me that, whether you want it to or not, I don't think she wanted to work those additional years, that between Gracie failing service dog school and Guinness taking over. I don't think she wanted to work those additional years, but she still had a purpose. And so you asked me about, is your purpose your happiness? I think that she was fulfilled by the work that she was doing, and that made the life that she lived on earth worth it, worth the additional work that she put in. And so my hope is that when my heart does stop, that I have a life of fulfillment. I know that it's not going to be always happy. I know that it's not always going to be rainbows and butterflies. It's not always rainbows and butterflies. I just cried in front of however many people, I'm going to say millions of listeners. That doesn't make me happy, but it fulfills me in a way that I honored and recognized those emotions being authentic and where they are coming from, and that somebody out there listening needed to hear that. And when I was a therapist, Goose would get up from her bed because she had actually a couch that was hers. No one was allowed to sit with her. She had her love seat that she sat on. And when she didn't want to interact with clients, she didn't have to. The kids, if she was on her couch, the kids didn't touch her. But when she chose to get off that couch, is a pretty damn powerful moment to have this, 140-pound being come over and lick a kid's face when she just had this regal presence. Like, you have to understand, she wasn't like the goofy Marmaduke or goofy Scooby-Doo Great Dane. She had this like regal presence. And so like for her to go over and like, I'm going to lick your face because this is what you need right now, not because I want to. That was her purpose in that moment. And so I think when you talk about purpose, Alex, there's this big life's purpose, but I also think finding purpose in every single day. Like as we're recording this, it's Random Acts of Kindness Day. So your purpose today is really like my definition of purpose is aligned action with an intentional emotion. So if I went to the line and bought you a cup of coffee as a stranger behind you as a random act of kindness, that comes with a lot of emotion, but it also comes with intentional action. And that's different than me accidentally overpaying and you getting your coffee for free. So I think purpose is little and it's big.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in intentional actions every day, and I love that idea of daily purpose, being able to make the most of something, not only for yourself, but for others as well. It sounds like you've been through all these different transitions in your own career, in your own life. Do you have any advice, tools, or maybe books that have inspired you that others could take away as they think about their own journey?
Yeah, so I think I'm going to give you a tool, and I'm going to think about a book as well. So when you're going through a transition, be kind to yourself. And when you notice that you're triggered, lean into that trigger and take out a piece of paper and write down all the things that you love about that trigger, because that trigger is there and it's been put there by evolution in order to serve you in some way, shape, or form. And so the more that you can love into that pattern and into that trigger, the healthier we become and the healthier we make our roots. And we grow from our roots, not from our leaves. So, being able to just be aware of that, because that trigger protected you somewhere or did something for you somewhere in your life. Otherwise, your brain wouldn't have it. As far as a book goes, I love the Lorax. My kids will tell you that. And I also love the Tao of Pooh. I'm sure that, it being Ash Wednesday, my entire Catholic family will love that that's the book that I'm giving. But that's the book I'm giving. And it's this concept of, I was born and raised Catholic, and I still go to Mass. And I think the Pope's amazing. However, I also recognize that I'm allowed to explore after living in China, I'm allowed to explore faith and belief. And the Tao of Pu explains Taoism, which is a belief system just about energy in the world and kind of the reciprocation of energy and the awareness of all energy, whether it's from a plant, a tree, the environment, a human, water, all of this kind of stuff. And I remember reading it while my dad was having knee surgery in the VA, and just like what suddenly became overwhelmingly aware of all of these individuals in this hospital and this ultimate sacrifice that they had made. And that this wasn't just a hospital where people were getting operated on, but there was like real healing happening and real gratitude and real service. And so like, how do you interact with that energy with yourself? And so that returns me back to the first thing that I said of, in a transition, be kind to yourself. Anytime you listen to an interview and they're like, what would you say to your, self like 10 years ago? And it's like, it'll be okay, or I love you, and if, like my hero is who I'm going to be tomorrow. Because I'm going to be a little bit stronger, a little bit wiser, and just a little bit better. And it's not about being better. It's just about that progress, towards whatever it is that my purpose is. And knowing that if I wake up tomorrow, I have a purpose and I'm going to spend the day fulfilling that purpose. And that purpose can be small and it can be big. But I'm going to intentionally pursue it with an energy of purpose. And so, plus it's narrated by Winnie the Pooh characters. And so I think that is a symbol of how to not take our life that seriously.
Yeah, I think there's a concept there of like living without expectations and not putting as much pressure on yourself.
Yeah.
I'm all about that, especially as we get older. There's way too much chaos in the world to put more chaos on ourselves. So let's get out of our own way and try to share that fulfillment and that purpose with others. How would your daughter describe what you do in the world?
My daughter tells people that I saved the world.
There you go.
Her most recent description is that I'm Captain Marvel and Wonder Woman and me. That's her most recent description of me. And so I told somebody on a podcast that with that description, it was like the only way. I was like, if you put Captain Marvel, she said, how do you choose to describe yourself? And I said, today I'm going to use my daughter's description and add a little bit more. So if you put Captain Marvel, Wonder Woman, and me into a blender and added some tequila, you would have a bunny margarita. Like that's pretty much how it would be. My daughter, both of them are incredible. But the fact that my oldest daughter continually questions the world and has conversations and has just far exceeded my knowledge of how to make this world a better place, just like gives me an immense amount of hope. But yes, if you ask my daughter what I do, she says that I saved the world.
Well, it sounds like you are. Your own world, you're saving it, but you're also leaving a legacy and creating some amazing foundational characteristics for your daughters as they get older. So amazing work that you're doing there. Let's tell people about you and how they can find out more about you, either your social media or your websites.
Yeah, so I'll warn people, if you want to actually find me, I play on Instagram the most. And it's dogs, inspiration, and like total and complete chaos. So that's Bunny Has 6 Legs. And I'm sure we'll put a link in the show notes, but it's the number 6 and legs because I have a service dog. And then for the most amount of content and the place you want to find yourself when you can't sleep, it's my YouTube channel. And so that's Bunny Young Business Therapist. And that has hundreds of hours worth of content about work-life alignment, best business hacks. That is anything that has ever crossed in between the 6 inches between my ears. I have recorded it in some way, shape, or form and continue to and put it out there. And smack dab in the middle is bunnyyoung.com. And so that's if you can't decide between you want access to me or access to my brain, then bunnyyoung.com has, everything from a free book on how to stay sane during insane times. I don't think anybody needs that right now, right? And also, as well as courses and how to basically the starting line for the rest of your life.
Awesome. Definitely go check out Bunny Young on all those other social media sites and her website. And if you want to get links to all of those aspects on my show notes page, you can visit at happyprogress.com/bunnyyoung. Go ahead and check that out. What would one final piece of advice what would be one final piece of advice that you have for entrepreneurs? So
I have to know what you were thinking while you were laughing.
You're making me laugh. All right, let's try that again.
We've laughed, we've cried. No, you can't edit this out. It's the happy progress.
There you go. I love it. Yeah, I mean, I've had a ridiculously busy day, so this is actually a breath of fresh air talking to you today.
Please don't edit that out.
Awesome.
Okay, so to answer your question before I choke on my coffee, I have a bracelet that has a Lorax quote, and it says, "Unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing's ever going to get better. It's not." See, I said you couldn't edit, so now you can't edit my can't even get out my life's quote that I have a tattoo of. And the one thing that I would add that the Lorax and Dr. Seuss missed is, unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot about you, nothing's ever going to get better. It's not, because you can care about a lot of different things and have a lot of different causes. And I see a lot of people pouring from an empty cup in my day-to-day life. And a lot of them become clients, thankfully. And so the therapist in me and the entrepreneur, the serial entrepreneur in me wants to say, the Lorax had it right. We just missed that, unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot about you. And start there. So, whether that's loving yourself or just giving yourself a little bit more today to fill your cup. We can often get lost in our identities as professionals, as parents, as spouses, as partners. And so, just give yourself some love today. Give yourself whatever it is that you need. If it's not love, give it to yourself. Even if it's a bunny margarita, go for it.
Well, I really appreciate your time, Bunny. Let's continue to make happy progress.
Absolutely. Cheers to that.
Thank you for making happy progress part of your day. How are you going to take advantage every day? Please let Alex know by visiting the website happyprogress.com. Together we will prove that progress equals happiness.